Are you laughing, Sally?
Hi, everyone. Deborah Hamilton, right on time. You guys are my besties, I have to say. It is amazing what has happened in the last week, given everything that's happening with COVID. A few of my colleagues from the New York State Bar Association may join us. I'm not sure. They would be in addition to my ABA friend who joined us last week, Margaret Parker Lent. And I just want to check in with everybody. I'm going to mute everyone and unmute you as I call you. So Diane, you have the redheads there and we love seeing those pictures. I have to see some Wheatons later because I have to do that, multiple color thing. So tell me, how are you doing, Diane? How's everything going?
We are very warm, thank you. It has gotten incredibly hot, incredibly fast. So that really limits the amount of outdoor time we can spend together. So we're doing a lot of rainy day games indoors right now, which is very challenging when you have performance dogs that are used to being very active.
I know it's amazing how much we learn to do, be sheltering inside, whether we're required to shelter inside or because the weather, we had very warm weather this weekend and it was incredible how many people. Hi, everyone. I just want to say welcome. We just started. We're going through our usual check-in because I want to make sure everybody's okay. I'm muting everyone until everyone has had a chance to say hi. So Diane was starting because, of course, as some of you might know, I'm a little partial to red dogs. So I promise I'll get to other dogs, but I'm partial to red dogs. I actually locked Junie out because I didn't get to walk him before the webinar started. And he would be totally in my lap, just like Diane. So I'm going to try to put him outside and I'll go right after this. But
do you
thanks,
mind
Diane.
if they're here?
Oh, not at all. I have found, I used to make sure my dogs were not anywhere to be found when I do webinars. And during COVID, most people have said to me, oh my God, what a beautiful dog, Deborah. It made me feel so great to see him on the screen. So quite, there's the baby. It really has made people much more feeling of warmth and camaraderie and community because we're all sharing our stories and our dogs with each other. So I love it. So I want to welcome Ashley Cartwright. She's one of our new people. And as I said at the beginning, some of my New York State Bar Association colleagues might join us because we are also aware, very aware of what's going on. So I'm going to complete the check-ins and then I'm going to tell you what has occurred this week, which was so incredible. Both a dog being picked up by a cat, being picked up by a shelter because its owner passed away, as well as the New York City's mayor's office putting out a directive with respect to pets and COVID. So you guys are on the cutting edge. You are taking that step, not just to care for your pets when you're dead, but to care for your pets when you're alive, but you might be sick and not be able to care for them. So I'm so grateful you're here. I'm building this community one person at a time, and I am so thrilled you all are here. So I'm going to mute you, Diane, and then I'm going to unmute Sally. Well, maybe I'll unmute Sally, maybe I won't. You have to unmute yourself. There you go, Sally. So how are you doing, Sally? I heard you were on a squirrel run this morning, so that's good.
Yes, we have flying squirrels and they were, doing acrobatics above us. I'd say everything is great. The police are watching because we have more people in the park and they're just kind of patrolling. Are they picking up dog droppings and do the people have Connecticut plates or out-of-state plates? So, yeah, we're doing well and Athena's fabulous.
Thank you, Sally. Deb, unmute yourself. So how are you doing? How's everything going?
Everything's going good, except for we're expecting snow this weekend.
Snow? Well, it's pretty cold here too. We're not experiencing what Diane's experiencing in Arizona, but yeah, we're pretty cold here. We had a few nice warm days, but now it's back to cold. But you and the dogs are good?
Everybody's doing well. Yep.
Perfect. Connie, I need you. You know how that works. I need that Wheaton person. Did I mute you?
I unmuted. You need to unmute me.
I did. You're ready to go.
Oh, okay.
You and
Can
I
you hear me?
muted and unmuted simultaneously because we're so in sync.
This is true. Well, you met young Mr. Casey, who's 13 months old.
Yep.
And has 4 points toward his championship on him before COVID stopped us in our tracks. And proud to say he already has his CGC and his TKN on the other end of his name. So he's a very smart boy. And his mommy and his Grammy are doing well. In fact, Grammy Bammy, who's 10 years old, just had her annual senior wellness checkup at the vet yesterday. We sat in the parking lot, or I sat in the parking lot while she went in and got the exam. And pardon me, then my vet talked to me on my cell.
Yep.
That's the way we're doing things, of course, as I'm sure everybody else is.
Well, I'm telling you, the vet industry has so much information coming out on how to do consults with clients. I'll touch on that maybe a little bit if we have time as well, because it really is an important shift that we have to make right now.
Oh, it is. And we're all, being very good about doing social distancing. And in fact, LA County, pardon me, is still seeing our COVID cases spike. We haven't hit the bend in the curve yet. And even though Governor Newsom is talking about reopening the state gradually, Mayor Garcetti of LA City is saying, no way, Jose, not going to happen right now. And we're still in bad shape here.
Yeah.
So at any rate, but we are fine here. Doing a lot of Zoom calls, everything from community organizations to now I have a Zoom call with my All Breed Kennel Club on Thursday evening and my Obedience Club on Saturday afternoon. So whether AKC likes it or not, I know that, their rules and regs say, oh no, you have to have, in-person voting and in-person meetings. They're going to have to adapt because
everybody's adapting. Really, yeah. Everybody's adapting. Well, thank you. I'll be right back, Connie. So, Michelle, you're in motion with the baby.
I'm sorry. Yes, Vivian has had a lot to say during this meeting so far. She's both logged me out of the meeting and then knocked my computer over, but that's okay.
Well, because that's why Junie is on the other side of the baby gate, because, if I log out and shut everybody down, it would really be bad. But Junie came up to me and said, excuse me, we were supposed to walk at 11 and I had clients that ran over. So yeah, Junie's on the other side and I'll take them later. But you're okay? Everything's good?
Things are going well. Vivian is healing up. Her kidney levels are back to normal. Her liver is en route, so it's better than it was. So we're still working on that, but the dialysis worked, and she's her wounds are healing up, and little by little she's getting there. So
good. Are you using the loop by any chance to help her heal better? You should try the Assisi loop. Ask your vet about it.
What is the loop?
It's a magnetic, non-invasive, non-steroidal treatment that speeds healing. I'll send you a link, or I'll put a link on here so everybody can look at it, because it's great for arthritis. Yes, Diane, hold on a minute. Thanks. And everything else is all right, Michelle?
If my girl is good, I'm good.
That's like me. If the kids are good, I'm good.
Yep.
Hold on 1 minute. Okay, Diane, I'm unmuting you. Everything okay?
Yes, but she asked my curiosity. Can I ask, because I'm a dialysis nurse of 30 years. I have never seen dialysis done on a dog. Are they doing peritoneal?
So it was hemodialysis. She had leptospirosis, and that put her into acute, kidney and liver failure, and was very jaundiced, very yellow. She wasn't eating. I originally went to Penn, and normally they would do dialysis, and they, for two reasons, could not. They, first of all, had to give their dialysis machine to the human hospital. And second of all, their dialysis clinicians were not allowed to come to work because they had symptoms of COVID. So she ended up having to be transferred to North Star, about an hour away. So it was, this is, the dialysis world is all very new to me. So I know she ended up having hemodialysis, and they originally said she would need up to 2 weeks of treatment, but she ended up only needing 2 actual treatments. So they said it was about, 4 to 6 hours each treatment, but because she did so well with that, and obviously has been, healing since then, but they don't anticipate needing, it going forward. But yeah.
Oh, I love this.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to connect
I was
you
going to
two.
say, if you would not mind sharing your number through Deb with me, I would love to talk to you about
And
this.
P.S. I'm
because
going to tell you
I'm
that
looking for a new job.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you that my angels are working overtime. And if any of you have been on here a long time, I have a lot of angels, because one of my dogs was just diagnosed with high or low kidney values, whichever is the worst. I'm not quite sure. I think it's high. So I'll be on that thread too.
Yes,
and that's why this community
absolutely.
is together, not only to help us make a plan for our pets long-term, short-term, but to really give each other some information that might actually help our pets going forward. So thanks, Michelle, that was wonderful. Now I'm going to go to the all but crazy Steve Griffith, who is, by the way, the spearhead of the National Dog Show Therapy Symposium, along with Michelle. These are my 2 colleagues. So Steve, how's it going?
Going well, Deborah. We're staying positive and testing negative.
Yeah. And that, hey, I haven't heard that yet. I'm sure that's something that I've missed, but that's really good. And how are the dogs? Everybody good?
Yeah, Murph Man had an ear infection, and but we got all the we got the medication, and he's so precious when you give it to him. He's so like passive and understanding that we're doing something to help him, and so it just touches your heart. And of course, he's the best dog in the world also.
Oh, absolutely. There's no one on this group whose dog isn't the best dog in the world.
Right.
I'm just
Correct.
very lucky that all of you have joined me with your best dogs in the world.
Yeah,
So I'm so
correct.
glad you're here, and hopefully we'll give you some great information to take away to make sure he's well cared for. So hold on. Now I'm going to go to Lydia. Hi, Lydia. How are you? Welcome for the first time.
Everything's good. I just am listening. That's all.
Perfect. We share how we're doing, both dog-wise and people-wise, mostly dog-wise, because we all care about each other, but the dogs are really.
Well, Donovan's going to be 12. I'm having issues with him because he's being very picky eating. I can open every canned dog food in the world, every people food, and he turns his nose up it, but we're good.
Oh, good, good. Well, hang in there. We're going to get to the meat of the story in a minute. Hold on. And now, Ashley, I know you said there was a lot of background noise, Ashley, but we welcome background noise. Usually it's barking dogs. So you have children.
Yeah, I might have shouting children, and I'm also on the treadmill because it's my lunch break. It's my only break from homeschooling and work. So I'm kind of multitasking.
And I'm so glad that you're doing this instead of some iTunes, iPod, podcast. Although Why Do Pets Matter is a great podcast to listen to while you're on the treadmill. I'm just saying. So,
right. No, but I did want to chime in because I know you've been doing this for a while, and I've always been curious. I just haven't really gotten around to putting it on the schedule. So.
Well, I'm so glad you did, because we as attorneys, so Ashley is a colleague of mine at the New York State Bar Association Animal Law Committee, and we are really looking forward to helping people with animals make sure their animals are well cared for. So I'm going to mute Ashley, and then I'm going to start, I hope you guys don't mind, with the update for this week. So I tickled a little of it at the beginning when I said, there was a beautiful white cat. So this is the story. And we all know this story all too well, but it's never going to happen to us. I just need to tell you, it's just never going to happen to us. There she is, the Athena girl. So this gentleman went to the hospital with symptoms of COVID. He was admitted to the hospital. His neighbor was taking care of his cat because they'd made that plan, the short-term plan. Unfortunately, the gentleman passed away, and the short-term caregiver couldn't keep the cat long-term. So they called the shelter. And not only was the cat in his own apartment, because I believe from what I read that the cat stayed in the apartment and the neighbor went in and fed the cat and cleaned the litter box and pet the cat, but the cat was in its own environment, missing its, its parent, but still in its own environment. And then she knew that the person passed away, and so called the shelter or animal care and control to come and get the pet. And the cat went ballistic. It took them like 2 hours to catch the pet. So imagine the stress on that pet. And it's interesting. We've talked for the last few weeks about going from your neighbors to neighbors and first offering to help them with their pets, because it's always got to be a give before an ask. I mean, we've always got to do that. But also then considering how long they can care for your pet, and whether or not there's someone who can come. I loved with the when Sally spoke about Connecticut license plates. Of course, some of you may know I have puppies who are going to be 8 weeks old this Thursday, and they're now in Maryland, and I can't see them. It's not that I wouldn't drive to Maryland in a heartbeat, but I can't see them because I have those dreaded New York license plates. I could probably steal Sally's and maybe get to Maryland because Connecticut is not as bad with COVID as New York. But I may be arrested and I don't really want to be disbarred. But, we have to understand that people coming in to get our pets might not be able to make it. So if we have short-term care, we have to make sure that short-term care knows who to call. And what happened to this cat, Winter, and I have a picture that I'm going to share. Here's the Daily News heading. I'm a little better this time than I was last time in that I pulled up the pictures instead of trying to have you see me with, upside down and backwards when I showed you the newspaper. I was like, well, good. I hope they can read upside down and backwards. So this is the Daily News article. And then this is Winter, who went to a shelter. And it says here, people really need to prepare. They need to have a plan for their pets because you just don't know what's going to happen if you go into the hospital. And that's why all of you are here. And I'd love you to bring your friends next time because it is about making that plan. So first of all, you got to make the plan. We all know about that. But when you make that plan, especially during COVID, because you can't have somebody who's so far away who's got to come in because they might not be able to, you need to have your neighbors. And what we really didn't delve into is how to tell your neighbors what the next step is. So that's the P of the MAAP plan. So remember, MAAP stands for make a plan, address the needs of your pet, appoint caregivers, and publish. A lot of people do three. They make a plan, they address the needs of their pets, they write them all down. Like I hope that Michelle now is going to put in her address the needs of the pet, everything having to do with kidneys, because somebody's going to need to know, God forbid something happen. But if you don't publish it, and I mean publish it on a grand scale. So if Winter's owner had come and joined us, which would, hi Leonard, nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. I'll get right to you and bring you in and ask you about being here. But if you don't take the time to make that plan redundant, I mean, my middle name, when I do the MAAP plan, is redundant. I must say it a million times because it can't just be one neighbor. It can't just be one person. It needs to be several people. Because if one person then gets sick who says they're going to take care of your pet, then you're SOL. And if you get sick, then you're really double, triple SOL. So in this case with Winter, if in fact the client, the pet owner, Winter's pet owner, had made a plan with the neighbor to take care because he was going to the hospital and he had no idea that he wasn't coming home from the hospital. I mean, we don't have crystal balls. I wish I did have a crystal ball. I think about all the people who are young, who God forbid get in an accident or contract something that, it kills them or whatever happens. And they make no plan because, I'm only 30. I've gotten over 30, 40, 50. Now I'm into the 60s and 90 is the new 30 for me. I just want to let you know because I'm 60 now. So 90 is the new 30. But you really do need to make a redundant plan. So as we had said over the last few weeks, and I know some of you have been here with me since the beginning, and I want to be grateful that you continue to join me, because the new information really spurs new ideas in my mind. Because if we go to our neighbors and they're taking care of our pets, how long will they take care of our pets? A week, 2 weeks, a month? This person took care of the pet for a substantial amount of time, but then had no information on next steps. So a lot of us have co-owners who will hopefully be contacted at the initial stages when we're going into the hospital. So say Winter was a show cat, and the co-owner of that show cat knew that this gentleman went into the hospital. Well, then the neighbor who was going to take care for a week or two would then have known to call this co-owner to make arrangements to have her come and get the cat if in fact she didn't have any more ability to take care of it, or God forbid, as happened in this case, the original owner passed away. I want all of you, now I know some of you here have pedigree dogs, which means that you bought it from a breeder, or you bought it from a shop, or you are co-owning it with someone. You know, the dreaded co-ownership, which actually turns out to be pretty good in cases like this, because the co-owners really will come to the aid of their countrymen. And if that's not something you want to happen, then you need to have a conversation with your co-owner and say, listen, my dog has lived with me for the past 10 years. They don't know you very well, but my neighbor is like, loves my dog, wants to keep it for the rest of its life, doesn't want to go anywhere. And if you approach this not in extremis, but rather, or not just do it without asking the co-owner, they usually work it out. I know my owners, my co-owners, because I sell all my dogs on co-ownership, if they tell me that the neighbor knows the dog as well as they know the dog, then I just have a co-ownership agreement with the neighbor. And say, okay, so let's bring the neighbor in. Let's talk about what we're going to do, because I'd love the dog to stay where it feels most comfortable, as opposed to ripping it out of its life and moving it somewhere else. Now, if some of you have adopted from a shelter, go back and read that contract that you signed for adoption, because a number of rescues and animal care and controls and shelters require you to bring the dog back if something happens and you can't care for the dog. And so you need to really read that. Often, if you've had the dog for 10 years, they're not chasing you down if you place the dog with the neighbor. But it is something that you signed. I always say to people, have you ever read your rescue contract because you were doing a corporal work of mercy? And most of them say, no, because I was adopting this dog. I mean, what could the contract say that was bad? And it's not that the contract says anything that's bad, but it does usually have a clause that says that the rescue can come in and take the dog if it's not being treated well. And you're to call the rescue if you can't keep the dog. So being aware of that, you should really make these plans with a view toward alerting everyone who might have a say in how you place this dog, so that, or cat, or bird, or horse, how you're going to take care of the pet going forward. It really is important. For me, it's life and death, especially during COVID, to make sure you have redundancy in your plan, because the neighbors are the first line, as we said before, because the people out of town can't get here. I have dogs all over the country. I cannot get to my dog in California. I can have my son get my dog in California, the one I co-own, because he's in California. I could probably call Connie because she's in LA, and so is the dog outside of LA, so I could call Connie. I mean, that's what this group is going to be great for, not only because we are commiserate and we're talking to each other about how to make a plan for our pets, but we are now making inroads into, well, I know somebody in Connecticut, Sally's in Connecticut, and if you have a dog in Connecticut, maybe Sally would watch the dog short term till I get there, take the dog long term. You never know, but you have to have that conversation. I think that's the key piece. And I'm going to share my screen again. Oh, I hope I shared my screen last time. I probably didn't, because here we go. So this is the share. This is the picture of Winter, who was the cat who lived with the gentleman who passed away. And here, as I said, I read this, people really need to prepare. You guys are here, so you're getting firsthand ideas on how to prepare. And if you want to do more, don't hesitate to call me, because I just gave a program to the Nassau County Bar Association on pet trusts. I know nothing about pet trusts. I know a little, enough to get me in trouble. However, I asked them 3 questions. The 3 questions were, how many of you have pets? I think I said this last week too, so you guys will hear the redundancy. And all of them raised their hand. And how many of you have plans for your pets in your will? And all, maybe 50% raised their hand. I said, and how many of you have pet trusts? And not one person, well, 3 people who have been part of my MAAP program were in the audience. They were attorneys who've been a part of my MAAP program. So they were in the audience, they raised their hand. But everybody else who's in trust and estates did not raise their hand. And I said, how do you expect to sell your client on pet trusts if you don't have one yourself? It's really important to have a directive outside your will and inside your will. Because if you're not dead yet, all those plans in your will don't come to fruition. And we as attorneys know that, but most of the time, I'll give my entire MAAP talk to a breed club, and they'll walk up to me and say, Deborah, this is the greatest program I've ever heard, and I'm so glad I have all my plans in my will. And you know when you want to just slam your head against the wall? Because if I say it once, as you all know, because some of you have been here every week, I repeat myself a few times on the really important pieces of making a plan. And I repeat myself in my programs on it can't just be in the will. It can't just be in the will. And then they come up and tell me that it's in the will. And I go, okay, so that's really great. That's better than nothing. But it's not advantageous or the best. The other piece of information I wanted to share in this screen share is what the New York City mayor did, because he has now turned New York City Emergency Management have a hotline for people with animals, because the coronavirus is creating this issue. People are going to the hospital and not coming back, either for a few weeks or, God forbid, if they pass away. But if they were on this program like you guys are and listen to how to set up that redundant plan for the care of their pets, it would be very helpful. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having animal welfare come in and take your pet rather than leaving it in your home alone. But it's even better if there's a neighbor or a child or someone else, because what happens is you come out of the hospital. Remember, last week we talked about the 72-year-old woman with the 9-year-old Afghan whose dog was taken by Animal Care and Control when she was taken to the hospital. And then it was given to a rescue after a certain period of time because she was still in the hospital or rehab. And then when she went to get the dog was adopted. And rescues do not let people know where the dog was adopted. So she didn't call. Of course, she's 72 years old. She forgot her phone. She was trying to, rehabilitate. She may or may not have misunderstood what Animal Care and Control said about keeping her dog until she got out. But whatever it is, it was over. And now she has to spend money to sue to get the dog back. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. So it's something that you can proactively plan for. So now I've talked way too long, but I would love to unmute everyone. If I can do that, I can. I have to go under participants, hold on. I'm gonna unmute everyone, and please let me know all of your thoughts, because it really is important to make sure that everyone understands what this is and what they're going to take away from today. Because for me, the fact that the gentleman died with his cat in his apartment, thinking that his cat was going to be cared for, but only having one person to do that, is sometimes the way we all think. We all think that, well, this is going to work. I have my son, my daughter, my husband, whatever, and then they can't take care of the cat. So redundancy is key. So Sally, I'm going to start with you. Was today helpful, and does it reiterate that mantra I have?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have, would you also have then a trust for your dog? So that would be in your trust or in your will?
So you want to have the MAAP plan, which is outside your trust and your will, so you can change it as many times as you change your dogs or you change your caregivers. But by reference, when you talk to your trust and estate attorney, you want a will that references your plan. I call it the MAAP plan, navigating the journey your pet takes. But you can also just have a regular document that you refer to, my pet care plan, whatever, if you do it yourself, but refer to it in your will and in your pet trust so that you can always change it outside. But remember to always give the most recent one to your attorney, maybe every year, because you should always check with everybody. I mean, I have somebody who is going to take my dogs and now they live in a postage stamp, me. So I can't take all of my dogs back. I will, and I'll help people find a home for them, but I don't want to promise that now that I live in a very small house. You always have to check in every year. So yes, great question.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question? I'm going to unmute all again.
About their own dogs. Right?
Anybody else have a question?
I have.
Yes, go ahead, Connie.
As you know, Deborah, since you helped, pardon me, since you helped me, I'm getting no, oh, okay, I'm unmuted. Since you helped me, you know that I have a MAP plan and a pet trust for my 3 Wheatons. For those who have purebred dogs, you have an automatic redundancy that you can go to. Either your local and or your national breed club always has a rescue group. Pardon me. In fact, I've got my little one eating my hand here. In fact, I chaired our local rescue group for a number of years in our Wheaton Club. So I have them in both my MAP plan and my pet trust as my backup. In fact, I think I have my national breed club. I'll have to look, but either one, I've got my breed club as the automatic backup. So I would recommend that very, very highly. And if you have rescued your dog, even if it's a mixed breed from a rescue group, they can be your automatic backup as well.
Absolutely. That's the key piece of what I wanted to point out today, is that if you in fact have an animal that came from a rescue, if Winter had come from a cat rescue, if this gentleman had told the neighbor, listen, if something happens to me, please call ABC Cat Rescue, because they're who I got this cat from, and they'll take it back and they'll find it a great home. Because what is our ultimate outcome? We want every one of our dogs to have the best home they can get if they can't stay with us. And I want to point out with Connie's comment, every national club, every breed national club has a rescue. Local clubs have rescues. So leaving them in your pet trust and in your will as the backup to all the people you might have who are going to take your pet is key. The interesting thing is you really want to make sure that you write this down and then you let people know, because that's the one thing that this gentleman with Winter didn't do, because maybe he didn't know to do it. That, you know, Deborah, thank you for taking care of my cat. And if you can't take care of my cat, please call, you know, ABC, where I adopted it from, and they will take the cat back and find it a great home. Anybody else have a question? Raise your hand so I can unmute you. Oh, cool. So I don't want to keep anybody any longer. We're 3 minutes over unless you want to. I wanted to point out that, you know, this gentleman did think about leaving his cat with someone, but didn't think about whether or not that person would run out of time taking care of the pet. So had he said, listen, take care of my pet. If you can't, here are 2 other names of people or places where you can leave my pet. Very key. That's addressing the needs and appointing caregivers. I always say, you know, only one member of your family can be a caregiver for your pet. The rest of them have to be people other than, because your family will be so grateful if you're sick that they can stay with you while you have someone taking care of your pets. And it will always give someone the ability to know who, no guilt, right? So I've already told Sally I'll take Athena if something happens to her. But if I can't take Athena, I'm so glad that Sally's given me 3 names of people that love Athena, that live by Athena, that I could call and say, listen, I can't take Athena because I now live on a postage stamp, and would you take her? And from what I understand, the line is long and illustrious to take Athena. So I just want everybody to remember this does happen. I mean, COVID, God help us if we open up too soon and we go back into the dip instead of the whatever, if we go up instead of down. And, if we do, we really need to make sure our pets are cared for. So I'm so grateful all of you are here. Thank you so much. And anybody want to give some closing thoughts? Because I love hearing if I, hit the mark, miss the mark this week in making sure everybody learns something about making a plan, addressing the needs of your pet, appointing caregivers, and publishing. Biggest thing. Uh-oh.
Everything you said was awesome, and I take notes every week, and I'm working on my own little plan, and when I get it closer to finalized, I will email or call you. But I also like to contribute something. So I don't know who it was that said they had an older dog that wasn't eating well, but Nature's Pharmacy makes a chicken liver powder that you can put on top of dog food, and I've rarely ever had a dog that won't eat it.
Oh, Lydia, there you go.
Yeah. Yes.
There you go. So I don't powder the chicken liver, but I boil it and throw it on top. But that probably gives diarrhea.
I don't know, but Nature's Pharmacy's made this product for years, and you don't have to get a big thing of it, and a small thing lasts a long time.
Okay, Lydia.
So
no, her hand is up. She wants to comment, and I talked over her. My apologies.
No, thank you very much, Diane. I really appreciate that. I'm going to try that. But as Debbie, I just wanted to tell you, I almost lost my cousin 2 days ago to COVID. We thought she was going to die. So this is very real. And this is why I appreciate these phone calls, because you don't really know until it hits home.
Yep.
What it's like. And she's still not out of the woods yet. But we truly thought we were going to be planning her funeral.
Well, Lydia, I know everybody, I probably can speak for everybody here, will tuck your cousin into, your cousin, right?
Yeah.
Into our prayers. I'm sure we all will. But it is, that's why every time I put this program on, I think, well, this will be the last Tuesday. This will be the last Tuesday. And then something comes up in the news and I go, oh my God, I didn't think of that. So I have to have another one because we can't think of everything, but we can try to make a plan that helps. Did she have any pets, Lydia?
Her daughter she has 3 rescues, but her daughter has them. She was found unresponsive.
Yep.
And by the grace of God, they almost lost her, but she's hanging in.
Thank God. Thank God.
And
thank you for sharing.
I will make the same offer to her that I would love to talk to the lovely lady with the dog with the dialysis.
But, yep.
Right now, I'm on leave of absence. I'm more than happy to talk to anyone with the medical knowledge that I have. It's more than the average bear. I'm certainly no expert, but I have been a nurse for 40 some years. So I'm more than happy to clarify mumbo jumbo for anybody at any point in time.
And before we leave, I really want to introduce Leonard Wasserman. So Leonard is another colleague of mine from the New York State Bar Association Animal Law Committee. And I'm so glad he's here. And I hope that some of the information seemed to be correct, Leonard. I always worry. But I think I'm pretty good at making it easy to understand and imperative to take the steps that they need to take to care for their pets.
Yeah, I think it's very fine advice, Debbie. Very fine advice. And all pet owners should have what I would characterize as a living will in addition to the last will and testament. That so you can provide for your pets if, God forbid, that you should be hospitalized, not available, or poo. Shouldn't happen, but
it's never going to happen. We're just immortal, and immortal. Leonard, I've said this before, but the reason I made this plan is because I broke my ankle and I had 9 dogs.
Yeah, how are you going to walk the dogs, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So out of the necessity is the mother of invention.
Absolutely.
So that's how this came about. Anybody else want to leave some last thoughts? Because I'm so glad I see that Steve Griffiths has dropped off, but I know that he's a busy guy. But anyone else?
I just want to say thank you again. This is wonderful, and
yes, thank you.
I'm so glad you guys keep coming, and please don't tell her to shut up. She's feeling better. We like her to bark when she's feeling better.
Yes.
I'm so glad you guys keep coming. You know, bring a friend if you can, because this isn't, I'm not selling anything. I'm just trying to, you know, share the information I get every week that's new, repeat some of the information, because what you have to hear it 7 times. So I think this is my 7th webinar. So some of you might be like a little sick of it, but it always spurs something in me and probably in all of you.
I sent invites to my obedience and agility friends, but
I did
you know
too.
that redundant thing? Sometimes you have to keep sending them and keep saying, this really is worth doing.
Yeah, it's really worth just listening to. I'm not selling you anything. It's really worth listening to because, and you know, I have to say before we hang up.
People that don't know you or aren't comfortable on webinars, it'll take 3-4 times of my sending it, and then they'll get sick of me sending it and they'll come on.
I appreciate that because I have to say that I always think that enough's enough, but really the one thing that's the best of worlds and the worst of worlds for the purebred dog world is that they come to the aid of their countrymen. So people don't think they really have to make a plan because everyone in their local club or national club will come and help their dogs. But we've seen that that doesn't necessarily happen very often nowadays because we're all getting older. We can't take a lot of dogs. And if you get, like I said last week, if you're on the floor and there's no information on where to give, you know, take your pets if something happens to you on the refrigerator, on the back door, so that the emergency medical people can call that number, your dogs are going to animal care and control. And, you know, I don't know, some states, and we're all over the country in this group, some states alter and spay before they return. And not that that's, you know, not that that's terrible, but if it's your young puppy, like Connie has, that she has a lot of hope for, that's really stinky. Or if it's your older dog who was the top stud dog in your breed, very respectfully, preservationally, responsibly bred, and you've lost that, that could really throw you for a loop because all of us really take very good care of our dogs and don't want anything to happen to them that we don't agree to. So remember, how many of you have your note on the refrigerator? Sally, shame on you.
I sent an email. Does that count?
Yeah, emails are good, but the EMT is never going to get that email. So it's got to be on your fridge or on the door. In fact, somebody wrote to me who's not here today, who was here last week. They said they're traveling, and I said, and you have your 3x5 card on the dashboard, right? And she goes, oh, shoot, I forgot. I said, yep, because if they're traveling with you, you want people to know who to call. And if they're not traveling with you and they're home, you want people to know. So on that note, everyone, have a wonderful week. Everybody stay safe. Come back and see me next week at 12 o'clock. I greatly appreciate it. Listen to some of the podcasts if you want. They're really cute. Why Do Pets Matter? That's all you have to put in. And there are veterinarians, attorneys, behaviorists, unbelievable group of people. Even one of the veterinarians talks about the insurance for your dogs and why you should do it. So it really is a wonderful podcast. At least that's what people tell me. I'm a little biased, but go to Why Do Pets Matter and listen and let me know. Comment. I'd greatly appreciate it. Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law Mediation. We're here on the MAP COVID webinar, and I look forward to seeing you all healthy and happy next week.
Stay healthy.
Thanks, Deb.
Stay healthy.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.